This interview was recorded as part of a session titled Perspectives on Societies and Inclusivity, a Community Dialogue. This video was shown in that session at the Federation of Genealogical Societies Conference, held August 21st through 23rd, 2019 in Washington, D.C. The session in Community Dialogue was facilitated by Linda Harms Okazaki, Joshua Taylor, and me, Colleen Robledo Greene.
Well, one thing is that we need to really examine the assumptions that we have about people and about the family and family structures. We can't assume that families are like what we were taught when we were growing up. You know, there's a daddy and there's a mommy and 2 whatever kids and a dog. And the truth of the matter is that that's not the way that normal families are. It's never been that way. And as time goes along now, especially with what we can find out from genetic work and things like that, is we discover there's a lot of things about our families that were not what anybody put down in writing. But let me talk a little bit about my own personal experience. Now, I was assigned male at birth. Now, obviously, I'm not a man, but that's what I was identified with at birth, and I had a different name, and I've been married twice. Now, for the first time, I was legally married to someone who was assigned female at birth. Now, today, I'm divorced. We're divorced. Now, I'm legally female, and they are legally non-binary. That means that they don't identify as either male or as female. Now, and I use the terms they and their because that is their preferred pronouns. And does that seem strange and awkward? It can. It's hard enough. I mean, it's even hard for me, and I'm trans, and I've been doing this stuff in the community for a long time. Now, both of us at various times have changed our names. We've changed our recorded genders. This is really complicated. Now I am legally married to a woman, and I did that after I was legally a woman, and so I'm in a same-sex marriage. But before that, we were in a registered domestic partnership. None of the things, a lot of the programs, a lot of the software just can't capture this. A lot of our traditional ideas about families don't capture this. It can be very awkward for people. In the transgender community, the use of a person's name when they were born is often referred to as dead naming. And it's considered to be extremely rude and perhaps offensive to bring that up because it's very, for many people, hurtful. Now, I've never been that way about it, but I know some people who would take great offense to it. And this presents a challenge for us as genealogists because we try to document things the way they are or were, whether we like it or not, whether or not the person likes it or not. All these kind of questions come up that we don't normally think about. And it's really important for us to be aware of this, to be aware of the fact that there's some things that we've assumed were static, that were immutable, change. Some things were things that were pretty obvious to us that they're not, like names, and some of them less so, even things like people's identified sex. And for someone like me doing work in the genetic genealogy field, which I do a lot of, whenever I test, I have a Y chromosome. So I have to identify with most of these companies as being male, even though I'm not. And so, and then from there on, whenever it uses pronouns, it makes certain assumptions about me. It makes certain assumptions whenever I put things into databases online about my spouse and my ex. And for some people, that's going to be very hard. I think that we as genealogists have entered a new time when we're willing to confront the fact that people have lived lives that are different than what we expected. These are sort of things that we have to, as genealogists, we need to capture, to identify. And how do we agree on these things? How can we create, for example, people want to create one world tree when we may not even agree on the identity of a person, and so, or their relationships. So these are challenges that we as a community face. And I think that we have to be sensitive to the fact that the people that we encounter these days will have folks in their family who are dealing with these same exact issues. I may be a little bit of an unusual case, but I talk to a lot of people who have folks in their family who are LGBTQ, et cetera, and or who have non-traditional relationships or other things going on in their lives. And so how do we honor that? And how do we capture that as genealogists, as family historians, and treat that with respect and give it the honor that these relationships and these identities deserve?